All right, we'd like to call the meeting to order. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
If you'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. Before we go into our public hearing, we would like Doug Winters, you would like to say something? We want to do a presentation before the public hearing.
Well, actually, I wanted to at least update the board in regards to a response that occurred, actually occurred on September 11th, which I thought was very ironic given that was the day in which so many of our first responders, in New York City responded to emergencies without putting their own safety, first. They responded to the needs of others. But over the weekend, I happened to review a police report that Lieutenant Shane Pelter had sent to our office in regards to an incident that had occurred at 1970 East Michigan Avenue. And while there are additional issues that will need to be dealt with in regards to that property, what prompted my letters to the board that weekend was, in reading the redacted police report, I was struck by what occurred when the Sheriff's Department was dispatched to 1970 East Michigan Avenue for a possible overdose. And when the Sergeant Beaver and Deputy McQueen and Deputy Phillips responded, they actually went into an environment, to say the least, that was absolutely abhorrent in terms of the actual housing conditions. And those conditions are currently being dealt with by the Office of Community Standards, but again, responding as they are accustomed to for the needs of others. They went into that house in the most filthy, sordid conditions and tried their best to assist a male who was unresponsive. As a result of their collective efforts, CPR was administered. The unresponsive male became somewhat responsive, and then later on, during the course of the CPR, the decision was made to also administer Narcan, which is used to try and reverse the effects of a possible heroin overdose, and that was successful. And in fact, it was at least successful to the point where the individual became stabilized and was able to be transported to St. Joe Mercy Hospital by HVA, and to my understanding, that gentleman's life was saved by the heroic actions of the sergeant and the two deputies. And again, I thought I was just kind of struck by the fact that, putting aside that it occurred on 9/11, this occurred outside the normal spotlight of what sometimes you see on TV. There was no cameras rolling. There was nobody watching. There was just the three officers doing their job, protect and serve. And I know they might even feel embarrassed about the fact that I wrote that letter and made that kind of a point to the township board. But I wanted them to know, and the lieutenant to know, that when we read these reports and we share them with the board, we don't take your actions for granted. We know that they're sincere. We know that any one of us could be in a situation where your services are going to be needed. And I think the board wanted to say a very strong and resounding thank you to all of you for your actions of responding and helping out that gentleman that evening, again, in the most trying of circumstances. So I was going to bring that up tonight in my attorney report, but I believe that the board and Lieutenant Shane Pelter is here to maybe also add some more comments to what I just said in my letter and over the weekend.
Shane Peltier with the Sheriff's Office. Yeah, thanks for all the kind words, Doug. Really appreciate it. So these guys behind me, they don't go out looking for, thanks or for no gratification, or, they're not out looking for recognition every day when they go to work. So it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to them when you recognize them. So much so the sheriff's office thinks so as well. I typed up a letter of commendation for the deputies that I'd like to read and present them with. September 11th, 2021. On September 11th, 2021, at approximately 08:13 hours, Washtenaw County Central Dispatch received a 911 call from an unknown male. The caller advised that there was a subject at 1970 East Michigan Ave, Ypsilanti Township, who was not breathing. Further, the caller advised when the residents woke up, they found the subject not breathing. Dispatch was advised that CPR was being performed by others on scene. Deputies Phillips, McQueen, and Sergeant Beaver arrived on scene shortly thereafter. As staff arrived on scene, they were directed to the unresponsive male's location, which was in an upstairs bedroom. Deputy Phillips entered the male subject's room and observed others performing CPR on him on the bed. Realizing that the subject needed to be placed on a hard surface for CPR to be properly performed, Deputy Phillips requested the assistance from other residents to move the male onto the floor. Once on the floor, Deputy Phillips began conducting CPR. While conducting CPR, Deputy Phillips observed track marks on the subject's arms, which were consistent with narcotics use. Deputy Phillips asked one of the subjects in the room what type of narcotics the male typically uses. After being informed of what narcotics the male typically uses and still conducting CPR, Deputy Phillips noticed the male started labored breathing but was still unresponsive. Deputy Phillips then retrieved his Narcan as he believed the subject was in a drug overdose. At that time, Deputy McQueen took over CPR compressions. Shortly after administering the Narcan to the subject, he became semi-alert and conscious. Huron Valley Ambulance then worked to stabilize the subject and ultimately transported him to the hospital. The subject is expected to make a full recovery. While in the residence, Sergeant Beaver, along with Deputies McQueen and Phillips, took note as to how dirty the home was and how the living conditions were abhorrent. They noted garbage lying all over the home, amongst many other things. Further, they noted the front yard had garbage on it as well. The information was ultimately passed on to Ypsilanti Township officials. The diligent professional work all of you during this, The diligent professional work of all of you during this incident shows your dedication to helping others in their time of need, the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, and the community in which you serve. Your work was nothing short of exceptional, and I would like to thank you for a job well done. I appreciate it if you guys want to stand up.
Thank you, and I notice someone's in the back with a little baby, which, all right, that's great, and we're really thankful and grateful for all your service and everything that the deputies do for our community and for our residents, and we do appreciate you, and thanks for saving a life. All right, we're going to move on to public hearing. So we have a public hearing for the special assessment levy that starts at approximately 7 p.m. and the time is 7:13. So I am going to declare the public hearing open for the special assessment levy that we have every year. Are there any comments from the public on this? This is required to be conducted every year for special assessments for street lights and cameras and one water main district that we have on the special assessment district. Any comment? Hearing none, I am going to close the public comment period for the street light public special assessment district. Crow, do you have a resolution to read?
All right, I have Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution 2021-20, a special assessment levy, whereas the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees on September 21st, 2021 held a public hearing on the proposed special assessment roll prepared by the Deputy Assessor, a copy of which is on file in the clerk's office after advertising the same in the newspaper of record in the township. And whereas on September 21st, 2021, the Ypsilanti Township Board heard comments on said proposed special assessments roll prepared by the Deputy Assessor. Now therefore it be resolved that the proposed special assessment roll prepared by the Assistant Assessor for the Charter Township of Ypsilanti be adopted and the amount set forth in the special assessment roll be levied on the 2021 winter tax roll. I would so move.
Support.
Motion, Giro, support by Wilson. Questions or comment regarding the resolution? Because this is actual tax levy, we do a roll call vote. So Swanson,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Stan stepped away for a moment. Wilson?
Yes.
And the special assessment district is approved. We also have a public hearing. We have to do this every time there's a new special assessment in 1 year. We have to have 2 public hearings. So this public hearing is to confirm the special assessment district for Village Grove Street Light.
I have Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution 2021-21, resolution confirming special assessment district number 221 for the Village Grove streetlight. Whereas the township is given notice of the public hearing to consider the assessment roll prepared by the assessor as required by law, and whereas after hearing all persons interested herein and after carefully reviewing said special assessment roll to the township board deems said special assessment roll to be fair, just, and equitable, and that each of the assessments contained hereon results in the special assessment being in accordance with the benefits to be derived by the parcel of land assessed. Now therefore be resolved, the special assessment roll is prepared by the assessor and the annual amount of $85.44 per parcel is hereby confirmed and shall be added and also known as Village Grove Streetlight Special Assessment District number 221. The assessments made in special assessment roll are hereby ordered and directed to be collected by the charter or the township treasurer, and the township clerk shall deliver said special assessment roll to said treasurer with his or her warrant attached, commanding the treasurer to collect such assessments in accordance with the state law. 3, all resolutions and part of resolution insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded. I would so move the Village Grove Streetlight District number 221.
Support.
There's a motion by Giro, supported by Eldridge, to approve the second confirmation of the special assessment district for Village Grove Streetlight. Questions or comment? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Swanson,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Giro,
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Eldridge?
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
And the resolution is approved. The second resolution is 2021-22, which is confirming the special assessment district 076 for Village Grove neighborhood security cameras.
I have the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Resolution 2021-22, a resolution confirming special assessment district number 076 for the Village Grove neighborhood security camera. Whereas the township is given notice of the public hearing to consider the assessment roll prepared by the assessors required by law, and whereas after hearing all persons interested herein and after carefully reviewing said special assessment roll, the township board deems said special assessment roll to be fair, just, and equitable, and that each of the assessments contained hereon results in the special assessment being in accordance with the benefits to be derived by the parcel of land assessed. Now therefore it be resolved, the special assessment roll is prepared by the assessor and the annual amount of $1,210.12 per parcel is hereby confirmed and shall be added to and also known as Village Grove Neighborhood Security Camera Special Assessment District number 076. The assessments made in said special assessment roll are hereby ordered and directed to be collected by the township treasurer, and the township clerk shall deliver said special assessment roll to said treasurer with his or her warrant attached, commanding the treasurer to collect such assessments in accordance with state law. And all resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded. I would so move the resolution.
Support.
Gerald Rowe, support Wilson. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote again. Swanson.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Gerald Rowe.
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Eldridge.
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
And the second resolution is approved. Now we'll go into public comment. At this time, if people would like to make a public comment and go to the microphone, give your address and name, and just remember that the person doing the minutes, they're not in this meeting.
My name is Arloa Kaiser, live at 1421 Melvin Street, and I would like to thank the police officers for everything that they do. When they go out on calls, they never know what they are going to find, whether someone else is hurt or for their own safety, and I really appreciate it. We had a little instance in our neighborhood, and they were very prompt, and they are always courteous, and I really do appreciate it. And also, just to let you know that there are people in our community that are trying to help the people who need help. There is almost like a flea market, garage sale, whatever you want. It's held in St. Mark's Lutheran Church parking lot the first and third Saturdays of the month, I was told, and I don't know how long they have been doing it or how long they're going to do it, but what they had was free. There was children's clothing, adults' clothing, shoes, and I got there late. They said that there had been more people there donating this to whoever stopped, and they took what they want. They give them a plastic bag, and they could go from table to table. So thank you for our community, helping our community. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Alicia Dyer. I'm an Ypsi resident, We Rock member, and Community Action Board member. I'm here representing a community working group that we have formed to start planning outreach for our ARPA dollars. I sent you all an email of a PowerPoint presentation that we made as a group of residents, including myself. We created it for review about our collective ideas for completing a community assessment process for the ARPA dollar spending. It is from a community email we created, ytownresidents@gmail.com. It has all our ideas, priorities thus far, and a call to action for our engagement around ARPA dollars to be community-led. We understand there are regulations attached, and we also understand areas in our township are most impacted by this pandemic. After the county completed their process for how they were going to spend ARPA dollars, we decided to have this community-led outreach plan for Ypsilanti Township, and it can be really impactful in engaging the community and making sure that we really use these funds to help lift up our communities most affected by poverty and harmed by this pandemic. And looking at the opportunity index, Ypsilanti Township ranked extremely low, which is stuff we've all known for a while, but seeing it is very eye-opening and calls to the urgency level to this. So in looking at this opportunity index by census tract, we found that Sugarbrook had the highest percentage of children living in poverty in this community. West Willow had 40.7% of children living in poverty. Holmes and Clark Road, Apple Ridge area, 40.1% of children living in poverty, followed by the Villa Drive, LaForge Road, Huron River Drive area, and then the Aspen Chase and Gulfside Road area. And so if you look at even who's living in poverty within our township, our whole township is low opportunity, but then these neighborhoods are even more of a low opportunity and really need help. We know children and families have been severely impacted from isolation, not going to school, losing access to positive mentors, and reviewing data from youth surveys around what helps you thrive. Resources weren't there for them during the pandemic. So we would like to schedule a meeting with you all to start a planning process with the board and residents to go over logistics and start a committee or commission comprised of residents and representatives. We know what hasn't worked, and we think if we have outreach that's community-led, it really will be more impactful. We want to prioritize our neighborhoods that are struggling from poverty, since poverty was worsened by the pandemic. And so we're asking for you to come together with this community group and for all of us to reach out to all our community residents to work together on this and provide financial support, but make sure that the community has ownership over this outreach, which means instead of having like a consulting company come in and do the community outreach, we we can do this. We know our neighborhoods, and we can all work together to do this ourselves and to have something that's really going to help the residents here with this once-in-a-lifetime funding. Thanks.
Thank you, and just so board members know, I don't know if you received your email, we just got this
Yep,
at
yeah.
like 4:20 or something.
Yep, yeah, I was hoping to print it out to give to everybody, but was running late, so it's all in your guys' emails.
So I haven't had the opportunity to read it, but I did receive it. I thought it was spam mail because I didn't know. Because we get tricks sometimes, so we have to, I send it to IT for release.
Yeah, so ytownresidents@gmail.com is the email we created as a working group.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for but I'm sorry, I haven't had the opportunity to read it yet. But it sounds like you're in the same alignment. You were at the work session, you heard the passion and compassion surrounding the area, and how it was done at the county is not how we want to do it. And I'm glad you have a group that can assist with that as well, but we really need to make sure the county does it as well too. So I don't know how we can make that happen, but for their community engagement around these funds, they need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really obvious in this map is we all need to do better, and I think that starting this community outreach now, like, you know, we haven't even planned for anything yet, so if we all get together and focus locally on what we can do, we then have the engagement and the focus to also talk to the county for the next packages that are going to be released, because that's also going to be coming as well.
Right.
So it's not like all the money is even planned for the county yet, so I think that it's going to be important for us all to work together on this. And we have a bunch of residents already formed from different neighborhoods in the township and neighborhoods that are most impacted by the pandemic, which I think is really, really important.
So do we.
Yep.
So do
Thank
we.
you.
And I just wish that we would have had more input at the county level. The advice that we were given by Michigan Township Association, our auditors, everyone was saying, don't move too quickly. Make sure, well, all the rules just came out like 8 days ago. So they finally have all the rules out on this, but their advice was don't move too quickly. And the county moved very quickly on it. And I know broadband was the #1 issue for $15 million. And they already had a working committee for 3 to 5 years. And part of the, broadband was an issue that was in the actual language. So I can understand how it moved so quickly, I guess, but I just wish there would have been more input in the opportunity indexes to make structural change. So I think our goals are aligned, although I haven't read your presentation, so I have to read it, but it sounds like it, and we're working together on other issues. So I look forward to including the community in the decision-making.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Tad Weiser, 610 North Miami. And just along the lines of what Supervisor Stumbo was saying, the more that residents are participating in these decisions, I mean, the past is past, but going forward, I'm thinking in terms of just, learning, we're all just learning about this new situation where new dollars may become available. Who knows what's going to happen after, not if, we get an infrastructure bill passed and those kind of things. And I just wanted to say that not on behalf of the leadership of WeRock, Washtenaw Regional Organizing Committee, but I do think our leadership is all on the same page of wanting to work with the township board going forward on creative ways of bringing more people into participation, because the way to get at equity isn't statements and isn't ordinances even, it's participation takes care of that if we can help that happen. So WeRock will look forward to working with that, and I'm just hearing now about this organization as well, which I'm sure will overlap. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks for coming, Tad. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the September 7th work session and regular meeting. We have statements and checks, and the treasurer's report for August of 2021.
So move.
Support.
Motion Giro-Rowe, support Eldridge. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just wanted to note that there were a couple meeting minute changes. Thank you for those.
All right. Hearing no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Attorney's report, I know you talked about some of the one letter, and we talked about Galt Village. Do you have any other general legal update?
Just to, I guess, to state the obvious that tomorrow, I think, is September 22nd. That's the first day of fall, which means 90 days thereafter, we'll be looking at the Christmas holiday break. And in the next 90 days, it's going to be pretty intense to try and identify. I've already gone through what I believe to be some high priority development projects that need to be brought to fruition prior to the end of this year, which means we have 6 meetings left, really, in October, November, and December. We also have the labor negotiations trying to get going in that direction for both the Teamsters and the AFSCME unions. There is one clarification from last meeting when Trustee Swanson asked the question about the contracts expiring at the same time. Actually, the AFSCME contracts were supposed to have expired a year before the Teamsters contract, but because of the COVID, we simply extended those contracts for 1 year for wages. And so, as it turned out, we have all 3 of those expiring in 2021. Normally, they would not. They've been somewhat more staggered. But I think it's important for the board to finish out the next quarter on a very, very strong note, given how things began with the pandemic at the beginning of this year. And again, I'll be bringing forward, I think, in collaboration with the full-time officials and the development team, a number of issues that are really high priority that need to be considered in the next 90 days.
All right, thank you. Should we add the request to?
There's also a request for Dave Bellers, who's the chief building official, and my law partner, Dennis McLean. They have spent what almost seems like a career in dealing with the issues at Galt Village Shopping Center. That Galt Village Shopping Center, it's very sad to look at it today and know what it was like back in the late 60s and early 70s, when it was very much a thriving local neighborhood shopping center that all of us who are a certain age group, I guess, can recall. All that aside, right now, it's now just totally vacant. It's deteriorating. It's being marketed for sale, but in the meantime, it needs to be secured. And there's too much vandalism going on. The property owner has not stepped up to do what property owners should be doing. Dave Bellers, who I think is very, very prudent in regards to how the township's dollars are spent, is requesting that Belfour be authorized to make the repairs and to secure this property in an amount of $9,645. We will be going back up. We will be actually going to court, requesting that these board-up costs and other costs that we've expended during the last number of years be added as a judgment lien and added to the property tax rolls. So at the time of sale, the township can recoup these dollars. We've done that over the years. Sometimes, very surprisingly, years will go by and the property will sell. The township will get their check for dollars that were expended during the course of litigation. So this is an emergency that I believe Chief Building Official Bellers is concerned about the safety and welfare, especially when it becomes an attractive nuisance. But we're not going to let the property owner off the hook in regards to these costs, and we'll be seeking that they be added to the property tax rolls by returning to circuit court for this cost and all other costs associated with this shopping center.
So the request is we have a quote from Belfour for $9,645 to properly secure the Galt Village access points, 'cause they keep getting broken into.
Yes.
And so we would need a motion. We discussed this in the work session about adding it to the agenda for action. So we would need a motion to approve this.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Wilson, to authorize the Board of Galt Village by Belfort in the amount of $9,645. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Winters. The next item on the agenda is old business, which is the second reading of proposed ordinance 2021-496, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 4, Section 62 through 77 of the Code of Ordinance, Charter Township of Ypsilanti, to adjust sewage disposal rates. Clerk Giroux.
All right, I have the Charter Township of Ypsilanti proposed ordinance 2021-496, an ordinance to amend Chapter 62, Article 4, Section 6277 of the Code of Ordinances in the Charter Township of Ypsilanti to adjust sewer disposal rates. Be it ordered by the Charter Township of Ypsilanti that Section 62-77 of Chapter 62, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinance be revised as follows. For all billings rendered prior to October 1st, 2021, existing sewage disposal rates shall prevail. For all billings rendered on or after October 1st, 2021, charges for sewer disposal service rate shall be as follows for each bi-monthly 2-month period. 1, readiness to serve rates based on size of meter. We have the meter size of 5/8 to 3/4, and the sewage rate is $16.80. Meter size 1 inch, $42.01. 1 to 1.5 inch would be $84. 2 is $134.41. 3 is $420.03. 4-inch meter would be $840.06. A 6-inch would be $1,680.11. An 8-inch is $2,940.19. A 10-inch is $4,620.30. And a 12-inch would be $5,460.36. The commodity rate would be $2.76 per 100 cubic feet. And I would so move the resolution.
Support Peterson.
We have a motion by Giroux, supported by Peterson, to approve the second reading of the ordinance. And are there questions or comments on it? We still didn't have the opportunity to meet, to discuss it and go over it. And I swear, normally every year we get the opportunity to do that. So I would really like to make sure that next year we have a meeting before it comes to the township board, so we have a good handle on it. I do know that it's getting harder and harder for people to pay water and sewer. We do have a supplemental program that we offer for residents, and the township tries to help those in need, but it's just getting more and more expensive. And we had a presentation in the work session about barrier busters, and one of the utilities was water and sewer to help make sure nothing gets turned off. Yucca has a beautiful policy that they really don't turn off the water at all, right? There's a program in place to assist that, and then they connect people with the services that are in need, one being the township, and there's 2 other ability to do that. But I do know the rates are, even though we're lower than other areas, it's still climbing pretty high, you know, but I do know that we do whatever we can to help those who can't pay. But next year, let's just make sure that we have the meeting. And I know Jeff Castro won't be here next year because he's going to retire after 37 years at YCUA. And you're going to be so greatly missed that it's going to be hard to fill your shoes. I'm just telling you. And we're going to miss you big time, but you're only a phone call away is what you told us, so. Thank you for always helping our residents, for going the extra mile and protecting the environment and the most vulnerable people. Yes, come up and, I mean, I know what you do 7 days a week to help people.
Yes. So thank you so much for the kind words. Regrettably, some of the bad things that I'm leaving, I'm taking a lot of knowledge, a lot of history, a lot of troubleshooting with me. But as you all know, I'll have the same phone number. I'm here to help anybody at any time. I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump away, so don't ever hesitate to call me. I'd like to share this knowledge with anybody that I can to help our community out and our customers, okay? So thank you so much for all the support.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. So this is an ordinance, and we have to do a roll call vote again. Swanson?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Giro Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Eldridge?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
The second reading is approved. The next item on the agenda is under new business, request to waive the financial policy and approve the quote for the purchase of 2 vacuum circuit breakers for the hydro station in the amount of $53,000 plus shipping, which is budgeted contingent upon the approval of a budget amendment.
So moved, Joe Rowe.
Support.
Motion, Gerald Rowe, support Eldridge, and we have our dam operator,
Good
Michael
evening.
Sarin.
Mike Sarnon, operations for the hydro station. So what's in front of you tonight is 2 additional circuit breakers for the switchgear that connect the generators to the DTE grid. And that's the path it takes to make our watt-hour meter spin to make us money. So the switchgear that we put in was installed when I came in 1998, and those circuit breakers count how many times they open and close. And 1,800 cycles is the one that has the most, and there's parts in there that are loose. And the cost to repair that, the lead time, and the return, the return back to us takes some time. So going out, I thought maybe I could go get a used one that would be in good shape. They're not out there. I did. I called people. I spent a lot of time trying to find that. So then I went back to our local supply house, and they gave us a quote for $51,000, and I was glad I was sitting down. That's a lot of money for a circuit breaker. These aren't small circuit breakers like in your house. They stand 2.5 foot tall. They're really big. They're 350 pounds. So anyway, trying to get extra pricing, L&S Electric, we got connected through Bar Engineering. And through those conversations, they're able to give us 2 breakers for $53,000. So I guess it's the way you are purchasing the units, not as replacement, but as new equipment, how it's proposed to the vendor or the manufacturer, that's how they can give you your pricing. So in our sense, that's good because I'll have 2 brand new circuit breakers in the gear that will last until I retire with maybe 40 years of service. So needless to say, I do need a budget amendment for this purchase. The old switchgear or the old circuit breakers will be retained, and we'll use them to keep up our 3rd breaker so we don't have full interruption. So,
Any
thank you.
questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to explain, because I know that last time this was a question of like why we're waiving the financial policy. And this is again one of those situations where like it wasn't like, authorized first, but Mike always does his due diligence and still received 3 quotes and, has been extremely financially conservative in all of his purchases for the hydro dam. So I just wanted to share that because I know that last time that was a question that came up.
Yes, and thank you. And talking with Doug, a little clarification on the rates that were attached to LNS. They're just providing the circuit breaker and shipping it to us. We're going to do the install as the operators. They won't have to be on site for anything. Basically, I'm buying some equipment, and they're just going to ship it to us. So.
And then just my last pitch is that if you've never had an opportunity to go see the hydro dam, like you should go see it because it's amazing. And like if you're ever interested in like the big mechanical pieces of things, like you will be blown away by the just magnitude of
Yeah,
the
we'll be
dam.
working late tonight, so you guys are bored and can't sleep.
We're not coming tonight, Mike.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Michael, thank you, and thank you for all your work on the safety committee as well.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Secondly is a request approval of the agreement with Washtenaw Community College for the Extension Center offerings.
So moved.
Support Peterson.
Motion Eldridge, support Peterson to renew the Washtenaw Community College agreement that we have that offers adult education programs, English as a second language, and it's been a great partner with Washtenaw Community College in our community center to provide these opportunities. Mr. Winters has reviewed it. It's in proper form.
Yes, it is, and I think, as you just said, this has been a long-standing partnership to really promote adult education. I think it's been a great thing for the college, a great thing for the township residents.
We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3 is a request to approve an amendment to the service contract with Washtenaw County for a senior nutrition program.
So move Peterson.
Support Eldridge.
Motion Peterson, support Eldridge. This too is a renewal. It's a senior nutrition program that's run out of the community center where we serve one meal a day. We did request a meeting. Wasn't able to have it before. It's on the agenda, but we do have a meeting scheduled next Wednesday in order to meet with the county. We have a new senior director that also is going to meet so that 3 full-time officials and everyone's on the same page with carrying this contract forward. We had a few concerns with it, but we can talk it through with the director of the programs when we meet on Wednesday. So it's in proper form, contingent upon a meeting, which we're now going to have, and we're excited about that. Any questions or comments about this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to request authorization for circuit court litigation to abate the public nuisance located at 855 DeSoto, 1221 DeSoto, and 7402 Red Bird.
So move.
Support.
Motion, Gerald Rowe, support Aldridge to approve the request if necessary. Our goal is to get compliance. We only come to the board after we've tried several attempts to do it, and sometimes authorization of court action will get action before we have to go to court. Mr. Winters?
Actually, I talked to Community Compliance Director Belinda Kingsley today, and in regards to these 3 properties, they kind of, in some ways, they actually give you an overview of what the township dealt with many, many years ago and how quickly things can actually revert back to where they once were if you're not being vigilant. So I would like to at least acknowledge the both Compliance Director Kingsley and Ordinance Administrators Tom Greenwood and Lindsay Miha and the whole staff, Chief Building Official Bellers. They've all hit the ground running and trying to get their arms around a number of properties that have come to our attention primarily through the eyes and ears of Neighborhood Watch and concerned residents and people that are actually out there assisting the township in identifying properties. The property at 855 DeSoto, unfortunately, is one that has been vacant, though, for actually 3 years. Again, we lost probably a good year and a half of doing inspections because of COVID. This property here is one that's actually now under the control of the bank. And as you can see from the photographs, the township is expending a great deal of money in programming with the county resource commissioner to try and also combat the rat problem that has emerged in different parts of the township. And when you have vacant houses that leave behind, in many cases, garbage and the blight and other areas for nesting and breeding of rats, then it becomes even more of a challenge to eradicate that problem. This property, again, has been actually vacant for 3 years. The neighbors have complained about skunks and other animals going to and from the property, blight, grass, weeds, etc. And we are not going to be the Bank of New York Mellon's landscape contractor and continue to mow the grass for them when they own this property and it can be rehabilitated. And so this is one that, again, goes back to the efforts of Director Kingsley and Tom Greenwood, Lindsay Mihot, and staff to bring it to our attention after being notified by the neighbors. Likewise, the property at 1221 DeSoto is also one that actually, this is the concern I have expressed on many occasions, that if a house is allowed to simply be neglected, then it reaches a point where sometimes it becomes demolition by neglect. And nobody on this township board likes to see residential properties just continue to deteriorate to the point where they actually have to be demolished. Chief Building Official Dave Bellers has reviewed this report and inspected it, has actually issued an order of condemnation as well as demolition. And again, it goes with the fact that the so-called broken window theory, that when you allow properties to begin to deteriorate unless the board takes corrective action, then it has an overwhelming negative impact upon adjacent property owners and the neighborhood in general. So you have two properties on the same street that are having negative impacts upon the community. The property at 7402 Redbird is another example where you have a house that is far from necessarily being at a point of where it has to be demolished, obviously, but at the same time, there's so much clutter inside the house that the fire department could not have ingress and egress into this property if they wanted to. If you may have seen the one newspaper article that was posted in the M Live that I sent over last week, where a fire in Ann Arbor erupted in a house which required the assistance of 7 fire departments to respond to, which was fueled in large part by hoarding. And so when you have this kind of situation, it's just basically an invite for not only being an attractive nuisance, where people get wind of a house being vacant and broken into, as well as the fact that it becomes a threat to the neighborhood, as well as the first responders. So in this case also, there's someone that's already seized put a lock on the backyard. We don't know who it is, and the blight back there is not being able to be retrieved. So these are 3 of the ones that the OCS team has brought forward, and I have reviewed all 3 of these and done the title searches and believe they're in proper form for the township board to consider moving forward. I would indicate in the house on 1221 DeSoto, this is the one where, again, the neighbors reported the back door being open, and the deputies went inside there and found 2 to 4 feet of standing water in the basement, growth of mold throughout the house. And again, it's just probably not going to be salvageable given its deterioration. So we don't want houses to deteriorate to that point, and whether they're owned by a bank or a corporation or whether they're owned by individuals, everyone has to be accountable to ensure that they don't have a negative impact upon their neighboring property owners. So these 3 are in proper form for the board's consideration.
Other questions or comments from board members? Yeah, Doug, I agree 100% about the bank. The banks don't care. They literally, and at one time they said it was cheaper for us to mow it than for them to hire someone to mow. So we've changed to try to address some of the challenges, but for the banks, I mean, there's such a need for affordable housing, and they won't work they don't care, frankly. And specifically this bank, we've had a lot of history with. And I wish they would work with the community because there's a need for affordable housing. It would be a good way to solve community issues by working together, but
What what the new board members were not privy to is that during the time period of the 2008 housing implosion, the township board, probably sued every bank in the United States at one time or another. We had 15 foreclosures per week. And the one common denominator throughout this process, so we could never get anybody to really listen to us then either, is that banks such as the Bank of New York Mellon, they actually, you've heard of people talk about the ARP, okay, well, I understand that. But back then, there was a TARP fund where the banks received billions, it was just billions of dollars in bailout funds where they received 100% of their loan on the property. They had no financial incentive to work with the homeowner. They had no social conscience to actually try and work with the township, and they allowed these properties to be purchased by some investors who obtained as many as 50, 75, and 100 in some cases, at anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a piece, while throwing out the homeowners that could not pay that heavy interest, while the banks received 100% on their mortgage loans. They were federally financed and backed by the U.S. government. And so when people talk about, these issues right now about, the banks have always been in a situation where heads they win and tails they win. They don't lose. And so we have tried to send a strong message over the years that we're not going to allow you to destroy property values in the township. And we've been very, very successful. We have not had that many banks involved like we did 10, 15 years ago. But that history still is an open wound for a lot of us, because I remember very, very well that one time we had every bank in the United States that received all these bailout funds and did not lose one dime on the bailout. I know I'm not speaking to the microphone properly, but I won't repeat that again, but to say right now, but the banks do always come out on top, and you see that being played out today in Washington.
thank you, and thank you to the neighbors who call in and report these issues. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is request to approve a purchase agreement with DTE for the installation of one street light to be located at the intersection of March Road and McKean in the amount of $1,087.69, which is budgeted in line item 101-901-972-200, contingent upon the budget amendment.
So moved.
Support Peterson.
Motion Eldridge, support Peterson. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to add, I'm sorry, I probably should have put a memo together, but, the three full-time officials have met, and we discussed a little bit with the road commission, and we've had so many fatal accidents at this intersection that we all, we want to prevent that in any way that we can, and we're not saying that a light would or wouldn't do that, but if there's anything that we can do to increase the visibility at that intersection, then we wanted to do that. So I apologize for not putting a memo together on that, but that's kind of where this came from.
Thank you. Right, and we're also going to designate this as a non-trucking route, like we did Parkwood, because there's so much cut through with large semi-traffic. And like Heather said, I can't believe how many fatalities have been at this intersection. But we're trying to do our best to light it up, sign it, and have no trucks come through, but it's sad, this many accidents at an intersection, and hopefully it'll help. If it doesn't, we know we tried. So we have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6 is budget amendment number 11. Clerk Giroux.
Yeah, I have a motion to amend the 2021 budget, budget amendment number 11. I would move to increase the general fund budget by $53,595 to $9,803,873 and approve the department line items changes outlined, and move to increase the hydro fund budget by $29,705 to $469,705 and approve the department line items changes outlined. I would so move the budget amendment.
Support.
Motion Joe Rose, support Wilson. The budget amendment was for a PTO payout, professional services, which is going to be under authorization of bids for graphic design firm for rebranding for the township brand, and also for continued work on the master plan by Carlisle Wortman, and the installation of the streetlight at Martz and McKean, as well as a hydro station purchase for the circuit breakers. We have a motion support. Are there any questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization and bid, we have request to seek bids for the purchase of a Ford Explorer for the Office of Community Standards, and that will be brought back to the board.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Giro Rose, support Eldridge.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I just had a couple things. I've learned a lot about the bid process in the last, almost year now. And, just reading through this and learning about the mitten system, if you guys look at the actual RFP that's posted for this, right below that, main paragraph, it says, it shall be submitted in person to the Ypsilanti Township Clerk's Office labeled OCS Ford Explorer or via mitten. And what the intention of that is to be submitted via the online sealed bid process that is on the mitten system. And so I would just like to clarify that language and then take out that word or the following line that says bid sent via email or by any other electronic means will not be accepted. Of course, you cannot email them. They must be sealed bids. But the electronic sealed bid process through mitten is allowed. And then just to have consistency between who to contact from the clerk's office, if that's acceptable to the board.
That's acceptable to me.
Yes.
Okay, and just to add, I know that me and Mike Hoffmeister is not here tonight, but I know that he's very much a fan of, as well, of doing the online sealed bid process. Mm-hmm. And we will also, our office is going to make an effort to just notify the local Ford dealers within Washtenaw County of this as well. Mitten is a thing that is free. You can sign up for free, but if you're not a paid or subscribed member, you don't get pinged about this. And so just in case they're not on Mitten or not subscribed to Mitten in the paid version, we want to give our local Ford dealers an opportunity to, bid. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is request to award the bid and authorize the signing of the contract with M3 Group for graphic design services in the amount of $38,000, which is budgeted.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge. Questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If you guys, Mike Hoffmeister again he's attending a conference this week, and so I would just like to sort of explain this a little bit more. Myself, Mike Hoffmeister, John Hines from the supervisor's office, as well as Angie Burgess from REC. We sort of reviewed all of the RFPs that were submitted and got down to a couple of finalists. We interviewed the M3 group as well as another group out of Ferndale. And surprisingly, everyone who's participated in those interviews all overwhelmingly agreed that we really liked the M3 group. While their office is sort of based out of Lansing, of course, because of COVID, they're all working virtually. Everyone within the group that we met has a really, strong connection to Ypsilanti, and they're really familiar with the community. which was one of the biggest comparisons with the other group, I would say. I think the Ypsilanti that the other group referenced was more the city, which is fine. We love the city too, but we're wanting to brand our township. And so felt really comfortable with their group. And they do have a lot of experience with municipal branding. They've done a lot of work in the Lansing area with a big construction project that they've had really great reviews on. They also, I can't recall the other township off the top of my head, but they did some more branding for several other municipal groups. So we're excited. And this is also going to, if approved tonight, kind of go hand in hand with our revamping of our website. If you all remember, we put out an RFP. And so redoing our website, the whole bit of it, and branding kind of go hand in hand. So we're really excited. I think everyone on that little committee is super excited about both of these projects and, just all the possibilities that hopefully can help shed more of a positive light on our township that we all know is here. So looking forward to that.
Questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There's no other business. Are there board member updates from anyone? I have a couple things. A group of us met and was trying to get speed humps or traffic calming devices. It's a challenge in neighborhoods because the county road commission requirement is 75% of the homeowners. And even though there were renters there and they supported it, they were not allowed to sign it based on the policy of the county. So we wrote an email and they have agreed to amend their policy. So they require 51% of the residents or homeowners to sign the petition. So that was a major move. And all we had to do was ask, right? And we gave, and Alicia's here and she was involved with it as well. And because there's Nash Street, some of these streets have 30, 40, 50% renters in it. And I mean, you knock on the door and the renters want to do it, but they're not allowed by the county policy, but yet it's good that they support it. But now we've reduced the amount so that more streets can be safer and the speed can be slowed down on our neighborhood streets. So Nash Street was one. There were two in Sugarbrook that was trying to get the signatures as well. So this is a major change. So that's positive. We're so happy about that. We actually got an email today, so it's confirmed. And I also want to thank Stan Eldridge for, he's helping with the oversight and updates and with the US 12 and getting the information out and making sure he puts it at a very high standard that the contractors maintain the construction area, making sure it's safe, it's well lit. None of us like construction, but it's really good to have someone working hand in hand in the field with the contractors and the engineers and watching to make sure that they're adhering to the budget as well. So I just really want to thank Stan Eldridge for all his work on the US 12 project. So thank you. And that's it. That's all I have. A motion to adjourn is?
So moved.
Oh,
I just have one question. You were talking about speed humps and that kind of stuff. How can the community stop the speeding and all that kind of stuff? The police cannot be every place. Grove Road, you can't put a speed bump on Grove Road. And I was walking along there and somebody passed a car in the parking lane.
all the time they do that, right?
Well, I don't know, I saw them once, but
I've seen them, yeah.
what are we going to do with these crazy drivers?
Yeah, so Grove Road is a primary road. It's an MDOT road, and we cannot put traffic calming devices on there. But the traffic committee group is coming up with other ideas, visual effects that you can have, restriping, making the bike lane green so that people can really see it, so they know, because a lot of people go in that lane too to turn when they're going. So there's lots of, speeding is one of the #1 issues that we have. And you're right, police officers cannot be everywhere, but we are trying to direct it to gather speed data that can do a direct patrol during the time period that people, because people are creatures of habit, it's usually the same people speeding. And it's usually the same time they're speeding. So the Sheriff's Department, with the support of the Township Board, purchased more devices that can gather that data, and you can do a direct patrol. The goal is to slow people down, so.
Well, they're crazy on Grove Road.
No, it was not only, yeah.
Well,
it's-
not only Grove Road, South Harris too.
Tyler Road is a hot mess too, I mean, and so we're trying to help with data to do patrol during the time in which we know people are speeding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion support to adjourn? Did you, Mo?
I motioned. Peterson,
I'm
support.
sorry. Okay, motions. All in favor?
Aye.
8:12 PM. Thank you, and thank you for attending.